After 2,000 years, hidden under meters of volcanic rocks and ash, a historic find has been made in the ancient Roman city of Pompeii. Archaeologists discovered a sumptuous private bath, arguably the largest ever discovered in the ancient city, with hot, warm, and cold rooms, magnificent artwork, and a huge swimming pool. The spa-like complex sits at the heart of a large residence that was discovered in the past 2 years during a major excavation. It's these spaces that are really part of the Pompeii effect. It looks like people have left the place just a minute ago. Analysis of 2 skeletons discovered in the house also shows the horror that the inhabitants of Pompeii faced when Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD. The bodies belong to a woman between 35 and 50 years old who was carrying jewelry and coins, and a younger man between 13 and 25 years old. They had barricaded themselves in a small room, but died when a tsunami of hot volcanic gas and ash, known as a pyroclastic flow, swept through the city. A third of the ancient city is still hidden under the volcanic remains of the catastrophe, but the new excavation, the most extensive in a generation, yields new data on ancient Roman life. An entire block of Pompeii, in which there was a laundry and a bakery, as well as a large private house, has been unearthed in the latest excavations. It is believed that it all belonged to the same wealthy person, possibly Aulus Rusticus Verus, an influential Pompeian politician. According to Zuchtriegel, the discovery of the baths is further confirmation of their elite status. Very few houses have a private toilet complex, so it was really something for the richest of the rich. The lucky ones who used the bathrooms undressed in a changing room with deep red walls and a mosaic floor with geometric marble motifs from all over the Roman Empire. Then they would head to the hot room, soak in a bathtub, and enjoy the warmth of a sauna, provided by a hanging floor that allowed hot air to flow underneath and walls with a cavity through which the heat circulated. They then went to the warm, brightly painted room, where they rubbed their skin with oil before scraping it with a curved instrument called a strigil. Finally, they entered the largest and most spectacular room of all, the frigidarium, or cold room. Surrounded by red columns and fresh athletes, visitors could cool off in the pool, so large that it could fit 20 to 30 people. In the hot summers, you could sit with your feet in the water and chat with friends, perhaps enjoying a glass of wine. The bathrooms are the latest find in this extraordinary house. Last year, a huge banquet hall was found with jet black walls and stunning artwork of classic scenes. A smaller, more intimate room, painted light blue, was also discovered, where the inhabitants of the house went to pray to the gods. The residence was half remodeled. Tools and building materials have been found everywhere. In the blue room, there are a bunch of oyster shells on the floor, ready to be ground up and used on the walls to give them an iridescent sheen. Next to this beautiful space, in a narrow room almost without decoration, a crude discovery took place: the remains of 2 Pompeians who did not manage to escape the eruption. The skeleton of a woman was found on a bed, curled up in a fetal position. A man's body was in the corner of this small room. The pyroclastic flow of Vesuvius came along the street and caused a wall to collapse, which basically crushed it to death, explains Dr. Sophie Hay, an archaeologist from Pompeii. The woman was still alive while he was dying. Imagine the trauma. And then this room was filled with pyroclastic flow as well, and that's how she died. Analysis of the male skeleton showed that, despite his young age, his bones showed signs of wear and tear, suggesting that he was of a lower status, possibly even a slave. The woman was older, but her bones and teeth were in good condition. It was probably socialite, Hay says. It could have been the wife of the owner of the house, or perhaps an assistant who took care of the wife. We don't know. A variety of objects, glassware, bronze jars, and ceramics, were found on a marble table in the room that may have been taken to the room where the couple had hidden in the hope of waiting for the eruption to pass. But the most interesting thing are the objects that the victims were holding. The young man was holding keys, while the older woman was found with gold and silver coins and jewelry. These are preserved in the vault of Pompeii, along with other priceless finds from the city, and we had the opportunity to see them with archaeologist Alessandro Russo. The gold coins continue to shine as if they were new, and he shows us delicate gold earrings and natural pearls, necklaces, and semi-precious stones with very elaborate engravings. They were very personal objects, he says. When we find these kinds of objects, the distance between antiquity and modernity disappears, he says, and we can touch a small piece of the lives of these people who died in the eruption. Just behind the hot room is a boiler room. A pipe brought water from the street, some of which was diverted to the cold pool, and the rest was heated in a lead boiler for the hot room. The valves that regulated the supply look so modern that it seems that they can still be opened and closed today. With a boiler underneath, the conditions in this room would have been unbearably hot for the slaves who had to keep the entire system running. The most striking thing about these excavations is that stark contrast between the lives of slaves and that of the very, very rich. And here we see it, in the difference between the sumptuous life of the baths and that of the boiler room, where slaves worked all day feeding the fire.